Are y'all ready to go off the trails tonight? I'm the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, and I'm ready to take you on a legendary journey right now. We welcome you to Off the Trails right here on Spaced Out Radio's YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. We would love to have you, and we would really appreciate it. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. You can find me, the Cryptid Huntress, at my website, thecryptidhuntress.com. Also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Cryptid Huntress, and visit my shop, War Woman Goods. I sell Native American vintage jewelry, and I would love for you to shop at my Etsy shop. All right. Thank you so much to Bumblefoot for that amazing intro music. And got to give him a big shout out tonight. I have an amazing show, grade A show for you guys tonight. I have Joedy Cook of the North American Dogman Project backstage, and I'm about to bring him up in just a minute. But don't forget that right after the show tonight, we have the After Hours crew waiting to go, and they have a really cool show for you guys. So tune in and let's get to our guest. Joedy Cook is one of the most active dogman and Bigfoot researchers in the state of Ohio. Originally starting off as a member of a Cincinnati UFO research group, his interests were became more focused in the field of cryptozoology. He's been studying the Bigfoot and Dogman phenomenon since 1991 and has authored several books and been on lots of TV shows. He founded the North American Dogman Project, the Cryptid Seekers, and the Ohio Center for Bigfoot Studies. So if anybody knows the Dogman and knows Bigfoot, it's going to be Joedy Cook. I've been looking forward to this. Let's bring up Jody. Hey, Jody. Hey, I have so been looking forward to talking to you about Dogman for so long. I actually hit you up and was in contact with you after I remote viewed The Beast of LBL about a month ago. Yeah, because you're the number one top-notch person to go to when it comes to Dogman, Jody.
There's others out there that's pretty knowledgeable.
There are others.
So there's others out there.
Yeah. Well, you're at the top of the list for sure. So it's an honor to have you here tonight.
Thank you.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you are one of the founding members. If you founded the North American Dogman Project. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I was doing Bigfoot research for a long time, and the field was really getting extremely political. It was becoming a clique and things, and I've always did research on Dogman because it wasn't really that popular, in the 80s and the 90s, and even going into 2000s. And just within the next, probably, I say within the last 5-6 years, it's just really been popping up. So I've been doing a lot of research on that. And so in 2006, I started doing real heavy research on Dogman. And I was just basically doing just a couple states, Ohio, Kentucky, Michigan. Mm-hmm. And I started a North American Dogman Project in 2006, but I didn't go online with it or blow it up until right around 2016. So for 10 years, I was just kind of doing just the research on my own, collecting data, things like that. And I thought to myself, well, I need to get online. I need to get a website going so I can start getting a little bit more information coming in. And I mean, it blew up. I mean, it really blew up. I didn't expect it to get to where it is today. We have chapters in just about every state. We have chapters, in Mexico. We have chapters in Canada.
Oh, wow.
Europe. We have 2 in Africa, India.
No way. Wow.
Europe, the UK. We have chapters all over the world. We have close to 800 members of the North American Dogman Project around the world. Half of them are probably about half of them are actually active researchers. The other ones just are just members to be part of the organization, but they still do every time they get something coming in, they'll send it to us and so forth. But it's fun. We get a lot of really good information from around the world. Like I said, I didn't really expect it to jump this big.
Wow, I had no idea that you guys had chapters all over the world. So you're saying that there are dogmen all over the planet.
Oh
Am I
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. I mean, like I said,
Wow.
we had it's like we have one in India, and actually in Pakistan we have one there, and the the group in India that contacted us said, we do research on dogmen. We're former military, and we've seen these things on the border with China,
Wow.
and these things were actually killing our people, and they were killing the Chinese soldiers. And the Chinese ended up killing one, apparently, is what they said. But they like got rid of that like real quick, got it out of the area.
Mm-hmm.
So they were doing research on this stuff, and that's how they found us. And so, we just started to exchange a lot of different information about dogmen, what they look like, how they look like over there, and basically around the world. The description is the same. Everybody around the world has this one view of what it looks like, and they say it's from the movie The Howling. That's the way
Yes.
everybody described it. Even like I said, this chapter we have in Africa, they see them, but they describe it more like of a hyena type entity than a wolf type entity. But this thing in Africa actually does walk around on two legs, and it's extremely aggressive. So, but we have, even in Europe and even in the United States, we have a dogman type that actually looks like a hyena. And
Okay. Yeah, you do.
yeah,
You do. I actually can back that up because I have remote viewed dogmen before, and actually the one from the LBL, the beast of the LBL,
correct.
it looked more like a hyena type to me. And when I was trying to figure out what I was seeing, what I saw was something that didn't have a lot of hair on it, and it had a very short snout and not a lot of hair. I pulled up this picture, Jody. Okay, let's see if I can find it here. There are different types of dogmen, and this is the chart that I went by. What
Right.
I saw looked like a mix between canine variant 2 and canine variant 3, but
Mm-hmm.
the face was short and it had ears that stuck straight up on top of its head. So that is what I saw at the LBL.
Yeah, the witness that we had from the LBL in 1979, Glenn, he
Hmm.
even the one that he saw, he described as a very hyena looking face.
Yeah.
So we've had a couple of them that came out of LBL area and surrounding of LBL that look canine, and then you get the ones that actually look more like a wolf
Hmm.
itself down there. So they might be more than one different variation there at LBL.
I absolutely did when I remote viewed it. I picked up on more than one. There are a lot of them. I say a ton. There are a lot, and I do think there are different types of them because in some of my data, I did get a German Shepherd type face on some of them.
Correct.
So there are different, and I also got, which is interesting, that our government is aware of these things being there, and so that would make sense if you're seeing them all over the world, and they're at the border in China and Pakistan and wherever. Do you think these things are being used as super soldiers in some way?
I don't think they are. The thing of it is, if a world government got a hold of one,
Hmm.
they'll try their best to weaponize it.
Hmm.
Okay. Perfect example of that is everybody knows the story about The Exorcist. Okay. Um, it was actually about a boy, not a female, but the bed, the furniture, everything from that room is sitting in a storage bin at Scott Air Force Base. Okay.
Hmm.
So why would the Air Force
Interesting.
have custody of the bedroom set of the Exorcist child other than trying to weaponize it?
Yeah.
Okay. So if they got one of these things, would they try to clone it? Where obviously they can't weaponize it as it is. They would have to get the DNA and
Mhm.
do some other type of stuff to try and to with the gene structure to make it the way they want to weaponize it.
Right.
Um, I can see it possibly happening. I mean, you can't trust the governments. I mean, the world governments,
Absolutely not.
things like that. So
Yeah.
uh, anything is possible. But as Dogman as a whole, I think that these things have always been here. It's a natural type animal, just kind of like Bigfoot, kind of like a bear, moose, all the other, and they were always here. We just never noticed them. They kept out
Yeah.
of sight. The Dogmen, I think, have been here, but the population was just, extremely low. And as time went on, and we're expanding out into their territory for building homes and
Mhm.
communities and things like that, then it's you're getting more and more notice of them, and the population is growing in order to survive.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's very interesting because I have I've looked into dogmen enough through remote viewing to know that there are different ways that they came here, and it's kind of confusing because you hear stories about people, through the centuries turning into dogmen and werewolves and
mhm.
stuff. And so, and I've also heard that some of the dogmen are chipped and they wear collars and stuff. Now, is that something you've heard?
I've heard that some that they were captured and they were able to control them, with the chip or control them with the collar to get them out there and to come back. But here's the problem with that is, if the government had control of these things and they put them out and they end up taking human life. Once they take human life once, they're going to continue to take human life. Okay. And if someone ends up killing one and finds out that this thing was chipped or had a collar on it from a government agency, it's going to create a lot of problems. I mean, government can cover that stuff up, but it's going to become more of a problem, I think, in the long run. But you have to understand, why would they want this thing out other than to hurt people
Yeah.
or see how far they can get them out there to control them to get them back in.
Right. It's really interesting, and I am full of questions for you right now. And of
Mhm.
course, our live chat tonight is full of questions of wanting to know about the family that was allegedly murdered by dogmen in the
Mhm.
LBL, Jody, and that's a hot topic.
Right.
I've actually covered it in my remote viewing show, and I did see that actually happened in my opinion, okay, according to my data. And I know you have actually sent me some videos that I've watched of a documentary, and I believe you know it's real, right?
I believe, yeah, I believe it's definitely true.
Yeah,
You
I do
know,
too.
I I started heavily researching in 1991. Okay,
Hmm.
but I started doing research on LBL in 1987 because that was the very first time I heard about it. Okay, so from there on, I fell in love with the story. I never heard anything like that before. But the
Hmm.
very first time I heard the story, the officer told me that it was just the mother, the father, and the daughter. He never mentioned a boy at the very first time I ever heard the
Hmm.
story. So it was probably about a year or so after is when I talked with another witness that talked, that scene, there was a little boy there, and then the next witness there was a little boy. The problem with LBL, the massacre scene, is that there were so many people that was there. Okay, not everybody saw everything. Everybody
Hmm.
saw bits and pieces of everything. Okay, so the fact that the very first guy who didn't see the little boy doesn't mean the little boy wasn't there. Okay,
Hmm.
he just didn't see it. So there's definitely something about that story because the story's never ever changed. Any other story in legend, this story has never changed. You have Jan Thompson, who knew the first two police officers that were on scene. Her grandfather was like I said, was the sheriff. So if there was anything being covered up, she would have known about it, which she kind of did because she had the inside story. But see, the thing of it is, you have to give Jan Thompson credit because it never would have came to life as it is now if she would not have came forward and told her story.
Yeah.
And her story backed up everything by every other researcher.
Yeah. That's some credibility too, being the daughter or the granddaughter of the sheriff.
Right.
And having firsthand knowledge. It's always good to know somebody in law enforcement. Okay. When you're researching things like Bigfoot and Dogman, because they're, the dispatch and the deputies are the ones who get the reports, all over the county. And so it lends a lot of credibility there.
It does. But, the whole thing about LBL that's really bothersome is that there's no evidence that incident took place, just word of mouth. Okay. Right. That's the problem that we have. And the other problem that we have is that a lot of these police officers or rangers or other witnesses, they don't want to go on camera to talk about their stuff. I mean, we got Glenn, who was a former employee for the state of Kentucky. He didn't want to show his face, but we show part of his body. But I mean, this guy was dying of cancer, and he was still in fear for his life telling the story.
Explain to everybody what his story was. Could you mind going over that right quick?
Glenn worked for the state of Kentucky, and he was at LBL. He didn't work at LBL, but he was there at LBL, and he was fishing. And he got there early in the morning. Ended up not catching a whole lot. The fog was starting to roll in. It was in October, I believe it was. And so he's in his boat, little motorboat. And so instead of going out into the water where it was foggy, he decided to go along the shoreline. So as he's going along the shoreline, and from where he was to go to the area where the campsite was 75, maybe 100 yards. Okay. So it was really that close to where he was actually fishing at, to where he got to, where he saw it. So as he's coming on, he sees a tent off to the left. He sees a pickup truck. He sees where there was a fire. There's some lawn chairs there. And he sees something next to the tent, just a little bit back from it. And he thought it was a horse because of the size of it, but it was on all fours. And then as he's, coming close, he's going, real slow. This thing stands up. Okay. And as he's getting closer, he's getting really good detail of what this thing is. Because now you have to understand the fog is all down on the water. It's not up on the land there. Okay. So he's able to see what's going on. And so he describes this thing as, a hyena style face, short snout, had high pointed ears, had kind of like a mane around it. He described it. Yeah. Very human arms, human hands, massive body, legs like a dog. And this thing was walking over towards this tent where these people were. And he said that people were just coming out of the tent at the time in the morning. And he's sitting there yelling at them. And they're like looking at him. He can tell they're still kind of dazed a little bit from, getting up. He said it was probably about 7:30 in the morning. And he's like yelling at him, behind you, behind you, behind you. And they're waving at him like he's a nut. And he said this thing just pounced on these two people. It was a male and a female. And he said, I'm sitting there watching this thing rip these two people apart. He goes, I ended up urinating on myself and I passed out. And,
Yeah.
woke up an hour or so later. His boat was up against a tree that was down in the water there. He goes, I never told anybody about this. We all knew there was something there at LBL. No one was allowed to talk about it. You could lose your job. He goes, I went and looked through newspapers and, reports and all this stuff to see if there was some type of an accident. He would go up to other rangers saying, hey, I heard there was a bear attack. Did you hear anything about that? Oh, no, we didn't hear nothing about that. And he could never find any information about what happened to these two people. So he goes back, I think, about a month later to where the area was where it happened, and the whole area is gone. You can't camp there anymore. They put a barrier on the road to get to the site. They planted trees,
lots of berms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they cut out something like 15 feet of the shoreline where the incident actually happened. So they cut it back like 15 feet. And when you're up there now to see it, you can see where they actually, obviously this was 1979, but you can see the difference how, how the area looked back then to what it looked like today. And the berm is still there today.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it. Now he was in the fog, right? You said like his boat was in the fog. I mean, I'm not going to say that saved him.
He was going along the shoreline.
Yeah.
So, but the fog was not up on land.
He's lucky to have lived through that. Okay. And I know that was a deathbed confession.
Yeah.
And so, but he died, a couple of weeks after that was videoed.
About 2 weeks after that.
Yeah. That's a big deal.
Yeah. He goes, he says, I had to live with this, all my life. There's two families that don't know anything what happened to their children. He goes, I have to live with this. And he goes, I don't want to go to heaven because I feel that God's going to punish me because I didn't do anything about it. So I'm coming to you and talk to you about it. Now, he verified, we were at his house, he verified who he was with a retired ID card, citations and awards, his LES forms, all that stuff he provided to prove who he was. That he was not some nut making up a story.
Yeah, he was legit. Yeah, I mean, so he came forward on his deathbed. All right. Think about all the other people involved, though, and how long this has been able to be kept a secret. Now, do you think that these people's pensions have been threatened, and if you think they were threatened in some way?
He has never been threatened. He was more worried about if he did say something years ago, then he could have lost his job. He could have been threatened. Something could happen with his wife or his children. That was his biggest concern, was his family, because he knew that there's something there. Everybody knew that there's something at LBL. Everybody knew that you're not allowed to talk about it. I mean, even today, you walk into one of those, welcome centers and you walk up and say, hey, could you tell me about the beasts of LBL? They're going to walk away from you and they're most likely going to call the Rangers on you.
That's what I heard. I had D.A. Roberts on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he's actually coming back next Saturday, and I'm going on his show this week. We've been working on a little project together of our alleged dogman up in Missouri where he lives. So, he was up there not too long ago, and he said that he basically ran out of businesses for asking about the dogman there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They do not like to talk about it. Even in, like I said, the gas stations or restaurants, they don't want you to talk about it. It's nuts.
It makes you wonder. It sounds like the basis of some weird movie, don't come around these parts talking about our secrets.
one of the times I was there, we were at a restaurant. We were talking to one of the waitresses about it. And, she said, don't stay in the hotels here. Okay. Don't tell anybody you're from out of town.
Okay. Act
Okay.
normal.
Act normal. So act like you're one of us. And I
Right.
mean, that's how it is there. You know, those people take it serious. They do not want to talk about it. We did a expedition there, I want to say, 5 years ago, maybe. And we had an advanced team that went down, and the Rangers actually showed up at the site. They told the advanced team that you cannot go into these certain areas. You can't wear anything showing the NADP on it. You can't have signs or anything. And they really gave all kinds of crap. Okay.
Okay.
So the guy that on that one particular camp spot, there's a guy that lives on property there that take care of everything. He's a caretaker there. And he told me that the Rangers told him, if anybody comes for the NADP outing, you are to send them back, tell them it was canceled. And the Rangers told him that.
Huh.
You know, they're nuts. I mean, when we were filming our documentary, they were watching us the whole time. They were following us. They were watching us from the lake and everything. Yeah, they have their own way of dealing with crazy things down there. They don't want that story
Yeah.
out. And
I can only imagine.
Well, you know what? I told one of the Rangers down there one time who didn't want to talk about it. And I said, look, you want this to end? I'm going to tell you how to end it right now. Okay. You monetize it. Okay. You sit there and sell Beast of Land Between Lakes, T-shirts, little stuff, werewolf, stuff like that. You do story time. You monetize it, you make money off of it, then people are going to say, well, it's not real anymore. Okay.
Yeah.
You're making money off it. So it's got to be some type of fake story, and then people are not going to worry about it. Sulphur State Park did that with the Bigfoot stuff. They monetized it. Okay. But it backfired on them because it basically got them more people out. I mean, there's times in Salt Fork State Park, you couldn't go out Bigfoot researching without stepping on 2-3 other Bigfoot researchers out there.
Yeah.
Just packed.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why my teams, we don't give our locations away at all. And we research areas of super high strangeness all over the South. And we're very careful not to give our locations away, because we know that once people find out where we're researching, they're going to come out in droves, and we won't be able to research anymore. And but okay, so there's another part of this. And I know you worked in law enforcement for many years. How is I don't know. I just had a senior moment there. I had a really important question for you, but working in law enforcement and being out there, sometimes there are people sent out to control the dogmen. Okay, and I know in my teams. An example with my team is that they were at a particular location, and men like in SWAT team uniforms came out of the woods. Okay. And actually Bob Grumpy Wilson, who is the Region 5 director of the North American Dogman Project, is on my team, and he's in the chat tonight. Hey, Bob. And he said, they were up in a particular location here in the South, and that happened. And they said, what are y'all doing here? And the guy said, well, we're doing the same thing you are. Okay. And he was dressed in a SWAT team outfit with like the body armor and the gun and everything. So how does that play into all of this? Saying, if the government knows about these things, are they out there trying to control the population at times?
Well, the thing with local law enforcement, depending on what the area is, most of them just don't know about it, or they just shove it off. Okay. At a state level, most of your state troopers know about what's going on. with this, depending on the state and the amount of stuff that takes place there. I know like Ohio and Kentucky and Indiana, their state level police, they're very familiar with this. I've talked to plenty of them, so they're very familiar with this, and they do have a plan made out if an incident happened. They know how to take care of it. Yeah, they'll be able to take care of it from there. But like I said, just local law enforcement jurisdictions and stuff like that. No one knew about it. I mean, we had an incident here in Cincinnati where there were these monkeys that were loose in this neighborhood, and the people are saying, "Look, these are not little monkeys; these are big monkeys."
Whoa!
Okay? And
a wild animal attack again, right?
Well, no animal attack. It's just
that's the excuse, though. Usually,
monkeys, and the police didn't even know how to handle that situation.
Wow.
They had to sit there and bring in outside people to deal with that. So that's what I'm saying. When it comes to local law enforcement, they'll bring other people in to handle the situation, either for legal purposes or their department's not big enough to handle a situation like that. A lot of states deal with a lot when it comes to Bigfoot. They're familiar with it, but that's not a issue problem compared to how the Dogman is a nuisance problem.
Yeah. My concern, and I do have a lot of concerns about Dogman, okay? Because I'm a Bigfoot field researcher, or I guess I've kind of graduated from just Bigfoot field research because there's so much more out there, and we're pretty much researching all of it, okay, including ETs and UFOs and portals and all that. But my concern is these national and state parks are aware of these dogmen, covering it up, and then unexpected campers are going out there and getting mauled to death and disappearing off the face of the earth, and with not a trace. And that's a big concern for me because I've got a kid and I like to go camping. That's kind of a big deal because with the Missing 411 series with David Paulides and the clusters of missing people. Do you think that's maybe where some of these missing people are going, is getting attacked by dogmen and it getting covered up?
It's hard saying. The thing with David's books, well, I have a problem with. Okay. Is that he'll never ever say that there's a connection to missing people, aliens, Bigfoot, Dogman. He suggests it in his books, but he doesn't actually come out and say it. He wants you to put that connection there. Okay. That's why I don't like his books, because if you're going to put something out like that, you really should sit there and back it up with, if you believe this is what it is, say, I believe that this is. People are going to take your word for it. Okay. Yeah. But there again, he has to be careful with the way he does things. Now
he does.
With that being said, I've been trying for 3 years under the Freedom of Information Act to get a map of all bear attacks in the United States from the Department of Agriculture, which Department of U.S. Forestry falls under. And they're not giving it to me because I truly believe they know what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to coincide dogman attacks and missing people compared to areas of a map where bear attacks are. Because the thing of it is, you can cover up a dogman attack with a bear attack very easy. Okay. Or even with a big cat attack, you can cover it up. So I got some information from the Eastern Puma Society, which, those people are like really good, because the state of Ohio says we have no puma, and the Eastern Puma Society says, yeah, you do. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of times they don't want to admit it because then they have to go through all the paperwork and everything. So it's just better off just not noticed,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. So I'm using that information to look at attacks and, you know, possibly kills and things in the eastern part of the country, using with the stuff with the, you know, the pumas. But like I said, you know, they're just not helping on getting anything.
Yeah.
And they have to do it. See, that's the problem. They have to do it, and they have like X amount of time to do it in, but they're getting to the point where, you know, I'm going to have to end up resubmitting it. And I know if
Okay.
I resubmitted it, I'm going to wait another 3 years. And I
They
think
do that on purpose.
they do that stuff on purpose. You know,
They totally do. I used to work in government. I know. I mean, I didn't do anything like that to people to hinder anyone.
The
But
FBI, you know, is actually they're the quickest on getting anything from. And, you know, I'm not a fan of the FBI, but they have no issue with talking about stuff.
okay.
You know, the people that handle the freedom of information stuff. It's you know, they're real good about that. So
Yeah.
you know, you can write the FBI on things, and trust me, they have files on Bigfoot, they have files on Dogman, they have files on UFOs.
They probably
And
have files on us, Jody.
they probably do. And someone told me, they
I
said
say that laughing. But
you need to write a freedom of information request about you to see what the
yeah.
FBI has on you. But the thing of it is, the FBI doesn't go looking for these things. Okay. But an FBI agent is trained where he is very thorough when he writes his report on everything he puts in there. So most of these cases and reports that FBI has, like on Bigfoot, UFOs, and things like that, are either it happened on a government installation, they were on a stakeout and something happened and they put it in their report, or they're on an investigation and they ran into it, or they saw something and it's put into the report. They're not out looking for this thing. But, you know, the FBI has 2,000 plus classified documents on Bigfoot.
I don't doubt that.
Okay.
I like your angle too about looking for the pumas and the bear attacks, man. That is so smart, by the way.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah. So that's the best way you can find out if some of these attacks that take place are missing people. You know, if there was a bear attack there, well, okay, 5 miles away, there have been 5 Dogman sightings. Okay. So what's the chances of, you know, that bear attack being a Dogman attack? So, and that's what we're trying to put together. But like I said, they're just not being cooperative.
Okay.
Getting that information.
Well, I have a question. How many people have gone missing from the LBL this past year? There has to be a lot, from what I understand.
From what I was doing some research on, from the actual massacre on up to today, was like 37 is what,
okay.
You know, talking with other people on, you know, other researchers, putting stuff together. That's a high number. Okay. I don't think it's that high. Because that 37, that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of people, you know, in 30 years.
Yeah, I figured to be higher than that, actually, because when I remote viewed it, I was targeting just the one family that was attacked and murdered, because I wanted to see if it was real to begin with. And I absolutely saw that it happened. It was real. But I was pulled in so many different directions because there were multiple attacks, and it was multiple, not just like 1 or 2 people. It was families and couples and just a bunch of carnage. It's a lot more than they're letting on. Okay. They don't even let on to that one, actually. So, and Jody, there's something really interesting that I have found, and some of the people that I researched with have found, that it's some of the state and national parks you go to, usually you're expected to check in and let them have a record that you're there. Okay, just write your name down in a book or something. But it's those that don't want to know you're there that are suspicious. Okay, and I don't know if the LBL requires that you check in when you go. But is that not suspicious to you too when you're not required to check in? It's almost like they don't want to know you're there, just in case.
Just in case,
Right.
LBL, they suggest you do. And if you're in a campsite and a ranger comes by to check on you and stuff, he's going to ask you, did you register in? And if you say no, you need to go do it, because he's going to tell you to go do it. And if you tell him yes, he's going to check anyhow. And he may come back and say, well, you're not checked in, you need to. See, a lot of people at LBL who don't check in, because a lot of them go down there and they go mushroom hunting, and you can't do that at LBL. Okay.
Is it illegal there, or you're not supposed to do it, or?
Well, no. Well, here's the thing: what a lot of people don't understand, that let's take the state of Kentucky. Okay. Every piece of land that's there is either owned by the city, the county, or the state, or the federal government. Okay. What a lot of people don't realize, you may have a farm. Okay. And you can do the research on this. Okay. And you pay property tax. Okay. Property tax is rent. That's all it is. Okay. It's rent. All you own is what's on that foundation. That land belongs to either the city, the state, or the county. You may have a deed for it, but they can confiscate that land.
Unfortunately.
And the thing of it is, if you're paying property tax, that's rent. Okay, they'll tell you that's rent. Okay, so if you're on a federal property and you take mushrooms and you get caught, they could charge you with felony theft. Okay,
wow.
You stole because you took something out of the state park. Okay. Some parks won't even let you burn the wood that's laying around. You have to bring in wood. I don't know how it is at LBL, but some require you to do that, where you can't even burn that out there. But the thing of it is, most of them they don't. It's like if you're in your little city park and you pick some flowers, if a city cop sees you, he could be a butthead and write you a ticket for theft, okay, or destruction of city property or something to that effect, if they wanted to, okay.
Yeah, but they're going to get you if they want you. They're going to charge you something, right?
If they want, they're going to they're going to. Okay. But like I said, most of them are just going to overlook it. But one of the things I talk about is, if you find a body, okay, of a dogman, okay, or even a Bigfoot, okay, the best thing to do, okay, is, well, like I tell my guys, when we always have a field kit with you, always have some type of what I call a bio kit with you. And that bio kit is where you can collect hair from a body, collect hair samples. You can swab the mouth. You can cut the fingernail off, pull different parts of hair from different parts of the body. Do not mutilate the body. Okay. Because you will go to jail quicker mutilating an animal corpse before you will a human. Okay. In some states, I'm telling you, you will. Ohio is one of them. Okay, I'm telling you, don't mutilate the body. Pull a tooth out or something like that, where you can get DNA. You can get DNA from the toenails, fingernails, but take as many pictures of the body. If you've got a really good syringe on you, if the blood's not, what do they call that?
Coagulated.
coagulated.
Coagulate. Yeah.
You
Y'all
know,
know what we mean.
pull some blood out, get some blood sample,
Yeah.
just do all that kind of stuff. Okay. And then what you want to do, you don't want to call local law enforcement because they're not going to know what to do with it. You call animal control. You call the state DNR and you say,
Mhm.
well, I found a body of a really weird animal, kind of looks like a werewolf, or a Bigfoot. You want to come look at this thing.
You might want to record yourself doing that too, so you have evidence.
Right. And that's why I said you
Right.
get a couple of your people out into the woods, videotaping you bringing them into the location and showing the body.
Never go in
Okay.
the woods alone, by the way, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For this
So
reason.
that's how you handle that situation. Don't take anything from a federal land or state or county because
Including a body.
you could get in some serious trouble.
Well, and they say that, in the instance, in the case of a Bigfoot, it looks so human like, and they look like they're humans. And it's hard for people to even shoot them when they have them in their crosshairs
Right.
because they look like a human with a lot of hair and really big. So you don't want to be caught taking a body. Okay. That's going to
Yeah.
look weird.
Yeah. You don't want to do that. Yeah. No.
But how often does that ever happen though? I mean, I don't, everyone always wants to know where's the body. Okay. I don't think it's that simple. Okay.
It's not.
I personally don't.
Mother Nature cleans up after herself.
Mhm.
Okay. People don't understand that. If Mother Nature didn't clean up after herself, we would have piles of dinosaur bones laying around.
Yes.
Okay. And the thing of it is, unless it's an environment like the desert, the body's not going to stay preserved. Okay.
Mhm.
That's why mummies stay preserved. That's why we put our dead in caskets. I can't pronounce it, but
Caskets. Yeah.
caskets,
Yes.
and you embalm them in order to stay preserved.
Right.
Okay. A body out in the woods is going to be gone in 4 to 5 days. Every little critter is going to eat on it.
Yeah.
Porcupines and raccoons, they'll eat the bone, they'll eat the teeth. They'll just eat and they'll drag the parts of the bodies off.
I mean,
it's going to be fun.
And that's what people on my team, we like to always say when people ask, well, have you ever found a body of a black bear in the woods or a brown bear? Not usually. There's a lot of big animals that you'll never see a dead body of out there. So
no, you don't. That's the thing. I mean, you every once in a while you'll run across a deer carcass, or something like that
on the side of the road.
Yeah. Well, I've been in the woods where I found, a deer carcass. I found like a coyote, found some small rodents one time, but that's it. You're not going to walk across a body of a Bigfoot. I mean, it would be nice.
Or a dogman.
Or a dogman would have been nice. I mean,
me
personally, I would risk it, wrap it up in plastic, go buy a big freezer and stick it in. Try to find the right people I could trust.
Hey, if you can carry it. I don't know. Well, speaking of bodies and the makeup of a dogman and a Bigfoot, Jody, I know this could be a whole other episode, right? A whole other show, but what do you think we're dealing with out there? Are these supernatural beings? Are they extraterrestrial, or are they some sort of natural thing that's just been here forever, for centuries?
The thing all the reports that we get, we break them down into flesh and blood, supernatural, or extraterrestrial.
Okay? Interesting. Okay.
A lot of the stuff we get is really supernatural. We get a lot of reports where people have seen these things come through portals, lead through portals, talk to them, telepathy, where they're able to read their minds, just really odd stuff, and in a very supernatural way. Then you get, like I said, a lot that are, just flesh and blood, where they seen the thing is snarled at them and chased them, or, something to that effect. It's hard saying. I think they're all connected somehow. They're all connected.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, you started off doing UFO research.
Right.
So
my thing, when I was doing UFO research, we were getting a lot of Bigfoot sightings on UFO reports. Okay. My theory on that, I never believed there was a connection between Bigfoot and UFOs.
Hmm.
Okay, as Bigfoot being an alien, or a prisoner from another planet, was a convict or was left there or something, or a pet. I
Right.
What I believe is that whenever someone saw a UFO and then had a Bigfoot sighting afterwards, there's a really good possible chance that that Bigfoot was abducted and released, and that's why those two are connected. I when I was doing my UFO research, we had an individual that was an abductee, and that abductee said when he was being looked at by these aliens, he was able to see a table which he said there was a large hairy creature laying on that table. It looked like a Bigfoot that was getting the same type of exam. So
Oh,
that's what I
wow.
think, that is what people are seeing. It's a really good possibility. I just, like you said, I just can't wrap my head around that Bigfoot is an alien,
Hmm.
or a pet or something like that. It
Yeah.
just it makes more sense that this thing was possibly abducted
Yeah.
and they were seeing it, but people were seeing them prior to UFO sightings.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of which, yeah. Yeah, speaking of which, I did a remote viewing show about the Portlock, Alaska Bigfoot
Mhm.
mystery, and my data was showing me that, and what I was seeing was that they had been here for centuries.
Mhm.
Okay, those Bigfoots had been here for centuries, and there wasn't really a whole lot of supernatural stuff going on with them. But every case that I look at is different, and some of them are interdimensional and are coming in and out of portals, and some of
Right.
them are just here. So it's really odd that, like, there's such a difference in the different types of Bigfoots and their abilities. And I guess with Dogman too.
Here's another theory you might want to look at too. I'm a big fan of the Hollow Earth theory. I read a lot of the books on that. I think
Yes.
that's really possible. Okay, I mean, you
I,
take
that yeah.
Hitler believed it. Uh,
Yes.
I believe Truman believed in it. There's a lot of different people around that actually believed in the Hollow Earth theory, that were possibly that Bigfoot, Dogman, the Mothman, some of these other cryptids,
Giants.
yeah, giants and things
The
like that,
giants.
are
Yeah.
from another type of society that's in Earth,
Yeah.
in our Earth. It's a really good possibility.
That
I
is
mean,
so cool you said that. Yeah.
it makes sense. You
Well,
know,
I never thought of that until I did a remote viewing target on the
mhm,
giant of Kandahar. And
right,
and part of my data was saying, I was seeing inner Earth, and so they came from inner Earth. So that was
right.
the first time that had come up before.
Well,
Yeah.
you take South Africa. Okay, they have an area called Giant Castle Pass. Okay, and they have all of these cave paintings of giants
Yeah.
there in South Africa, in this area called Giant Castle Pass, where people have actually come up missing, but they have seen these things. They describe them as like Bigfoot, but they're like 12 to 15 feet in size. They're very, very huge. And actually, I've got a really good cave painting picture of one of the cave paintings there. And I mean, you can, the size between them and what the natives there were fighting against. I
Hmm.
mean, it's interesting. Uh, yeah, like you said, the giants of Kandahar. Everything's possible. I mean, you have an open mind. Have an open mind about it.
Yeah, you know what? That's what I always say about anyone that goes out and researches with me and my team. You've got to have an open mind. I think that's one of the number one attributes of anyone I want to have to that goes out with me when I
Right.
research. Now, Jody, we have a couple of minutes left tonight.
Okay.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add to what we talked about tonight? And also, where can people find you?
Well, with having an open mind, you also have to be skeptical. That's the biggest thing. My thing is, if I find something, some type of evidence, I if before I present it to the people, I like to, well, if there was a Bigfoot court or a Dogman court or something like that, could I present it as evidence? Could I persuade the jury? So you have to think that way when you're dealing with evidence. The problem with a lot of researchers that are starting out getting into the field, they want to find Bigfoot. They want to find Bigfoot evidence or Dogman evidence, and they're going to find it every time they see a broken tree branch or an indentation in the ground,
Right.
or something, and you can't do that. You have
Right.
to.
Not everything's Bigfoot, y'all.
Yeah,
not everything.
Not everything is. You got to be very cautious about it. Just take your time.
Yeah. I agree with you. Oh my gosh, this has been awesome, Jody. Now I do have your website here. You were with the North American Dogman Project,
Yes.
and you guys have an interactive map of all the sightings all over the
Right.
country.
Correct. Yeah, we've been putting that together. We're kind of behind. We have a lot more we have not put on there yet. We're getting so much stuff in, and we're getting so much, reports, and we just trying to read through everything. Yeah, I mean, we're probably about 3 weeks behind, just trying, going through everything and just trying to contact some of the people back. Some of them don't want to be contacted back. Some of them just want to say, look, I just want to throw this information to you. But there's so much stuff we got coming in, and you have to look at it and see what is,
you got to weed it out.
And what's, crazy, because we get quite a few crazy things, and it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's already crazy to begin with, but then you can get another level, right?
Yeah.
Well, Jody, thank you so much for being here tonight. I've had so much fun talking to you. I hope so much you'll come back on my show soon.
Oh, definitely.
And we'll talk some more. I mean, we only covered the LBL tonight, and there's so much more that we could talk about. So, Jody, thank you so much. Everybody go visit the North American Dogman Project.com, and we'll have you back soon, Jody. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Have a good night. Thank you. All right, y'all. Well, that was amazing. I hope y'all enjoyed that. Jody is an awesome guest. And don't forget that right after this show, you can join the live crew after hours. They're going to take you on a journey for the next 3 hours, and you won't regret it. You guys go tune in. Next Saturday on Off the Trails, my guest is D.A. Roberts. I know I had him on last month, but we're working on a project together, and it's all about Dogman. We're going to have double the dose of Dogman, you guys. But for now, I'm the Cryptid Huntress. I'm Jessica Jones. I'm headed off the trail. After Hours is next, and I hope you guys have an amazing good night.